Hey Gerard.
Hi.
Hey buddy, just let you know you have about 5 minutes, okay?
Is good.
Hey, how you doing, Gerard?
I'm Gerard.
How are you?
I spoke to you in Poeldijk in the
Where?
Netherlands.
When?
A few years back, you was a few years back. You was in the Netherlands at DPW, Dutch Pro
Okay.
Wrestling,
Yeah.
and I spoke to you with another friend of mine for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's been a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, yeah.
I can't remember what I did yesterday.
So
How are you?
we have a question for you.
Okay.
Of course, you have a very iconic character in the WWE, what was very successful. How did you come up with the Ted DiBiase $1 Million Man, gimmick persona?
Well, the idea for the persona was not mine. The idea was Vince McMahon's idea. What's funny is Bruce Pritchard, who's a good friend of mine, told me the story. He said, I'm gonna prove something to you. So they were on an airplane sitting together in first class. Now this was when you could still smoke on a plane, and Vince hates that. He hates smoke. Anyway, so this guy lights up a cigarette. And he says, "I'm going to prove to you everybody's got a price." He said, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "The smoke really hurts me." He says, "Would you mind putting it out?" And he says, "Well, I'm sorry, pal." He says, "But I paid for my ticket too." He says, He says, "How about if I give you $100?" He said, "No, look, I paid for my ticket." He said, "How about I give you $200?" No. He said, "I tell you what, I'll give you $500 if you'll put that cigarette out." He put the cigarette out. He gave him the $500, and he looked at Bruce and he said, "Everybody's got a price." That was Vince proving to Bruce Pritchard. And so he says, "I want to come up with a character like this." The reason I think he chose me was because as a heel character, just in general, I always carried myself aloof. I always talked down to the people. Like the people were peons. It's kind of like sometimes I would just walk out. I started, I didn't wait till I got in the ring to start working. I would work all the way. I'd walk halfway down the aisle and I'd stop and I would look at people like, and you could tell just body language, that guy's looking at me like I'm a piece of crap, who the hell does he think he is? So I think that's part of the reason that Vince chose me. And I think the other reason was that I've always been known to be good with interviews, quick on my feet. And, but I think that's why. And I'm just, I'm grateful that he did choose me because it was one hell of a gimmick, I'm still here. Yeah.
You're very iconic here in the Netherlands. If you are always here, $1 Million Man, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, you hear these names, and it's still very iconic here. So if you have one piece of advice for wrestlers, young upcoming wrestlers that want to enter the business right now, what's that advice?
Be real. Make it as real as possible. And I was talking about this to some of the guys here earlier. When I talk to anybody that's going to start in the wrestling business, the thing that I think is missing today is it's like, Vince McMahon years ago announced to the whole world that pro wrestling was sports entertainment, which most people thought anyway. But when you walk into a movie theater, it's a movie. It's not real. But if the actors are really good at what they do, then they are able to draw you into the story. They can make you laugh. They can make you cry. They can make you mad. They can make you happy. And so, when you're walking in, it's not real. Well, when you walk into a wrestling arena, there's no difference. And it's kind of like the story is taught. The story's in the ring. The story is not what's going on backstage. The story should be told in the ring. The match is the story. And it's how good that you have that match is what makes the difference. And it's realism. For example, if you were in a real fight on the street and somebody grabbed you by the hair and tried to run you across the street into a light pole, can they run you across the street? No, they might pull your hair out, but they're not going to run you across the street because you ain't going to go. So why would you try to run somebody across the ring by the hair of the head into a turnbuckle? Now, if the turnbuckle's right there, bang. Now, that's more realistic. You guys see what I'm talking about? You take a big bump over the top rope, you lay on it. What are you going to? Now they bounce up like nothing happened. Later, sell it. Make it real to the people, and the more you can do that, the more you got the people. That's my thing about wrestling, and it's not about the bumps. It's not about all the theatrics. It's about how good you tell that story between the good guy and the bad guy in the ring. It's always a good guy and bad guy.
Okay.
Right.
We want to
Okay.
finish.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
You are
It was an honor
welcome.
to speak to you.
Yes.
Thank
What?
you.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
sorry.
guys.
Bye, guys.